Hello everyone, and welcome to the opening round of the Hindle Exhaust Pro Sport Bike Championships from Shannonville Motorsport Park's Pro Circuit, part of the 2014 Mopar Canadian National Motorcycle Road Racing Championships. I'm your series announcer, Frank Wood. This CSBK national race coverage is brought to you by Honda Canada, Dunlop, and Mopar. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I will now introduce to you the starting grid for this, the Hindle Exhaust Pro Sport Bike 18-lap National Championship Final. Scheduled to start on the back of the grid is number 8, Brent Strong. Michael Leon was scheduled to start alongside him on the number 74 machine. He has had motorcycle problems and has headed home. Starting from 8th position is the national number 4 machine of Jean-Francois Cyr, and Cyr Racing sponsored. Alongside him, pro rookie number 40, Marco Souza on the Z1 Cycletech Blue Street Racing and John Cornwell sponsored machine. Caleb Noyles on the number 17 Capstan Haulage sponsored machine in from New Brunswick. Jeff O'Leary in from Falmouth, Nova Scotia on the number 10 machine, the Pro Cycle and O'Leary Brothers Racing machine. We move up to the 7th starting position, wherein we find Honda Canada and Mickey Moto sponsored number 71, Christopher Garvey. Alongside him on the number 76 machine, Honda Canada and Scorpion Helmets and Pro 6 Cycles proudly sponsoring the number 76 machine of Louis Rafa. Starting from 5th position, a great practice session, a little slow in qualifying, but watch for a return to speed from this speedster out of Newcastle, Ontario on the Hindle Exhaust Pro 6 Cycle and Vortex sponsored machine number 53, Eli the Eel de Cash. We now move up to the front row. On the outside of the front row on the Ruthless Racing, Dranger and Armor and RI Helmet sponsored machine number 229 out of North Vancouver, British Columbia, Darren James. Alongside him on the number 47 machine, the Sarnia Speedster with sponsorship from Blue Streak Racing and 4-ounce Mike and WCK Honda, number 47, Will Hornblower. Starting from 2nd position, P2 for the accelerated Honda Canada and Motovan sponsored national champion in the sport bike class. He wears the number 1 from Keene, Ontario, your champion Canada, Jody Chrissy. And from pole position, from Caledon, Ontario, on the Castrol-sponsored Triumph 675 with support from Pro 6 Cycle. Welcome, please, fast qualifier, number 42, Kenny Reedman. That is the field for this 18-lap National Championship Final. Grab a seat, get ready. Virtually all of the riders have chosen dark shields on this day, and I know that's something that a lot of photographers don't like. They like to be able to take... Hold on a second, Reedman is waving. Okay, everything's all right. The riders look expectantly to those lights on the infield. James on the inside perhaps has a little bit of a better line for the launch into this corner. However, Jody Christie is well versed on this racetrack. Christie, James, Hornblower, and Reedman. We've had a mishap here on the front straightaway, a crash off the starting line. Jody Christie has your race lead, but we're almost certainly going to be going to a red flag on this, depending on how quickly they can attest that motorcycle. It lays on its side right now. We have not heard a call for red as of yet.
Flags are coming out, guys.
The flags are coming out, apparently, that we are going to put a red to this one and restart. See if we get an identification on that rider. I did not see. Initially thought with JF Cyr, but I'm not sure of that. Let's wait for an official call from the CSBK or indeed CRCA officials. Oh, it's Trevor Daly. Oh, tough break for T-Rev. Trevor Daly out of Streetsville, Ontario. That's part of Mississauga. Oh man, he is not happy, and I can't say as I blame him. His race is over, and like... It is Cyr? It is Cyr, okay, sorry. My apologies. It was national number 4, J.F. Sear. The paint job looks very similar, Bruce, to what T-Rev has done on his Superbike. So tough break for Triumph rider J.F. Sear, the Quebec rider who won his last national championship at Saint Eustache back in the early 90s. So the race continues. My apologies, as we have fully anticipated having a restart in that one. Jody Christie leads. Reedman runs in second spot right on in the draft. It looks like Reedman has a pass in mind. I'm going to have to get to a better viewing spot to pick up on this action, as the pit wall doesn't afford us the best view of things. However, we do pick up on Christie leading off of turn 11 with Reedman all over him. Christie is definitely not getting away early in this. Remember, Reedman's the one who's using the soft rear tire, and it is Christie who has chosen the medium rear tire, and in spite of that, he's able to get that accelerated technologies Honda out in front of this thing very quickly indeed. Caught up with J.F. Sear. Jean-Francois, what a tough break, man. Sorry to see this happen.
Sorry, what an idiot move that guy made. I had a hell of a good start, and he ran into me, right? Like, I don't know how much he jumped the start, but hey, you don't run into someone that's in front of you on the start. It's the stupid move.
Okay, J.F. Sear obviously somewhat hot under the collar. What a tough break, man. His race season about 20 yards long there before the handlebars taken out of his hands, and that Triumph 675 thrown to the ground and damaged enough the left side handlebar and the clutch lever and what have you. It's all damaged, and he is unable to restart, of course. Let's pick up on the race action once more as we pick up on our race leaders. Now coming off of the S's as Jody Christie continues to lead this thing. Kenny Reedman keeping him honest, sitting back on his back tire for now. Reedman will be playing the waiting game. May test a front wheel every now and again, but don't expect to move too early in this race. He's not going to be showing all his cards really early in this. Reedman taking the outside line going into turn 1. Caleb Noyles on the 17 bike leading Brent Strong in the number 8. Those riders completing the field and now just heading up into turn 2 as Christie and company are no doubt making their way over from turn number 8 over towards 9. There they go. Christie and Reedman. Will Hornblower running in third spot. Eli DeCash holding on to fourth. And my thanks to Lindsay Ash, the former announcer for the Race Super Series, for bringing me up to date on that. Thank you. Hornblower is having a career ride, ladies and gentlemen. Number 47, the Sarnia speedster Will Hornblower has tagged in behind Jody Christie and Kenny Reedman. So we've got a Honda running up front. We've got a Triumph in second spot, and Hornblower is mounted on a Yamaha R6, holding on to third spot. Eli DeCash on the 53 bike, still back in fourth place, but certainly has not given up on a possible podium spot. Christopher Garvey in the 7-1 machine leads the 229 of Darren James. James keeping Garvey within striking distance as they head up into turn 2.
Trying for 3 shot, but if not, you go for the 2 in the lead.
Race leaders out of the hairpin now down the back straightaway. It looks like Hornblower's dropped back off the pace ever so slightly. Reedman's on the move. Kenny Reedman moves right up onto Jody Christie's back wheel and then backs off just a tad. He'll go to lesson once more on our national champion. Reedman was fast qualifier by only 6 thousandths of a second over Christie. Down into Allen's is Eli DeCash now on the 53 bike, having a lonely ride back there in fourth. And things are starting to heat up in fifth spot as James moving in on Garvey. Past the grandstands they go once more. Jody Christie getting a big push off of turn number 1. And Kenny Reedman simply is not letting go. Reedman has thrown out a grappling hook there and hooked onto the back fender of that Honda CBR 600, and that Triumph getting a tow from the Honda right now. Oh, he made it work. I told you it was high drama territory back there. Kenny Reedman has moved into the race lead. Your fast qualifier, number 42, Kenny Reedman, on the Castrol Triumph is now in the race lead. Now remember, Jody Christie has got a camera on the front and the back of that Honda that wears the number 1. So the footage of that motorcycle is capturing right now will be on csbk.ca just a wee bit later on. Down into Allen's they come now. Reedman still holds on. Hornblower doing a studied work out there. A work in precision is that young lad right now. And his dad at trackside, perhaps with the fingers crossed. Kenny Reedman, who won the race Super Series regional race here, and still with all Darren James on the 229 machine, has been unable to match the pace of Christopher Garvey on that number 71 bike. James gets a good push off of 2, and he may be making a pass as they head into towards turn 8 right now. In behind the trees it is dramaturgy for James and Garvey, as meanwhile onto the back straightaway Reedman leads over Christie and Hornblower. DeCash just coming out of the hairpin now. Hornblower is getting back to the point where he's going to lose that draft if he gets too far back. Christie's still close enough that he can enjoy some of that soft air in behind that Triumph 675 triple. And before this race started, we talked about the fact that Triumph won the Daytona 200 with that motorcycle. The first time since 1967 that Triumph has won the Daytona 200, and the racer that did it was Danny Eslick. And previous to that, of course, in 1967, it was Gary Nixon. DeCash stays up to his personal pace, stays on speed, and Christie looks like he's got a drive going on. Darren James slips off the competition just a tad there as Garvey pulls away between 1 and 2, and James on the Yamaha R6 tucking down in behind that Honda. Up into the hairpin we go once more. Kenny Reedman continues to lead, but Jody Christie, of course, within striking distance. Christie could throw a stone right now and hit Reedman. As down the back straightaway they go. Reedman is tucked down behind that plexiglass. He's got his knees tight to the tank and making himself as small, as aerodynamic as possible. Now he sits up and uses his body for a big air brake, sticks out that right knee and banks through the very, very fast turn 11. Down in through the S's. A right, a left. Now they stand it up and put them up on their front wheels as they come down into Allen's corner. Reedman still in control over Christie and Hornblower. DeCash runs back and forth. Darren James has caught up to and passed Christopher Garvey. James now has moved up into 5th spot in front of Christopher Garvey. Marco Souza on the number 40 machine, the Z1 Cycletech Blue Streak Racing Souza, the pro rookie in this race, and he's doing an outstanding job in his first year in professional competition as Caleb Noyles and Brent Strong bring it past the main control tower, and we look once more to the hairpin. Out from the hairpin comes Kenny Reedman on that 675 Triumph and the 600 CBR Honda of Jody Christie in pursuit. Then we have Will Hornblower on that R6 Yamaha, and Hornblower seems to have dropped off the pace ever so slightly. I think things are starting to heat up now. Perhaps Christie's rear medium Dunlop is starting to give him the gription that he wants to move this thing in front. Now, typically, they're not going to show any hand too early in the race. In fact, it could well be that Christie decided to let Reedman by and start reading his lines before he starts to make a move. Kenny Reedman has chosen a medium front Dunlop and a soft rear Dunlop for this race. These, of course, are DOT tires, exactly what you can buy from your local dealership. Darren James, Christopher Garvey still battling it out. Garvey on the 71 bike, falling slightly off the pass. He's mounted on a CBR Honda, and Darren James mounted on the R6 Yamaha. Well, I'll tell you what, Will Hornblower is making up his times on the curved part of the racetrack. The corners, when you get onto that back straightaway, he seems to lose a bit, but watch how much he'll close up through this section of the race course, and indeed, as they hit up into the hairpin once more, he'll be much closer to our race leaders than he is just now. He may be down just a tad in the horsepower department. Maximum horsepower allowed in Hindle exhaust pro sport bike racing is 125, and these motorcycles must go on a dyno to prove that they're making 125 or less. Anything above and beyond that could result in disqualification. Hats off to Hornblower for running his own race, though. He's very smart in that. He's not getting drawn into anything untoward that'll lead him into a corner faster than he's prepared to go, trying to stay up with the race leaders. We've seen that happen in past years. We look to the trees once more. Reedman still with a very, very slight lead. I don't know, you call that half a bike length, just barely. Fully anticipate seeing Jody Christie pull up alongside on one of these trips. Now look at how close Hornblower is now, and watch how that distance expands as your race leaders get down towards the Rider's Choice Control Tower, down in towards 11. Look at Christie closing up on brakes now on Reedman as they come in through turn 11. They bank it over at very high speed, knock it down just one notch, and then just grab a big old handful of throttle as they bring it off 11 into the S's. Down into Allen's corner they go once more. If you had a seat at trackside there, you'd realize that under hard braking, the riders are actually lifting the back wheel right off of the ground. Reedman, Christie, and Hornblower. Eli DeCash. And Darren James is a man on the move right now. Darren James running back in 5th spot. But he has caught up to and disposed of the battle with Christopher Garvey and indeed Marco Souza on the Z1 Cyclotech number 40 machine. And Darren James, a former Canadian Thunder champion and competitor in the Harley-Davidson XR 1200 class, now strutting his stuff in the pro sport bike class, as presented here in Canada by Hindle Exhaust. Reedman is getting some distance here. This is serious distance this late in the race. Kenny Reedman has found an afterburner and has pulled away, and even as I speak, Jody Christie tries to eat some of that asphalt up that Reedman has established coming out of the hairpin turn. Boy, he had a big lead there, but Jody's eating it all up, coming into 11 on brakes, and indeed coming into Allen's corner now as Jody heats up the rotors on that Honda CBR 600, the Accelerated Technologies and Motovan sponsored race that carries the number 1 plate. And he's going to have some great footage of Kenny Reedman on that Triumph out front. And of course, great footage of Reedman in behind him as we have cameras front and rear on that motorcycle throughout this race. Watch to the trees now. I got a sneaky suspicion that Jody Christie has made something happen back there. No, he didn't get it done just yet. Christie continues to run in 2nd spot and continues to hunt down Kenny Reedman. Reedman, if I'm not mistaken, if he can pull this one off, it'll be his first national championship win in pro racing here in Canada. He's been spending a lot of time in the United States of America on the sport bike tour down there, and has obviously picked up some speed secrets and some saddle time that has bored him well. Reedman, actually a bit of a story behind him. Much unlike many of the riders on the grid, Reedman did not start early in his riding career. In fact, John Cornwell commented that the biggest thing against Kenny Reedman is he simply hasn't had enough saddle time compared to the riders he's up against. Many of these riders who are starting out at a very young age and then working their way up. Kenny Reedman was a snowboarder. In fact, he's a very qualified snowboarder. And that's where he was spending most of his time, was on the slopes. But now he is truly adapted to motorcycle racing, and he's doing just fine now, leading this Hindle Exhaust Pro Sport Bike National Championship final at this point, and certainly heading it up for the last 5 laps or so, as Christie continues in a somewhat frustrating role as national champion, running in 2nd spot, and all he can do is watch Reedman, and perhaps one of these laps he's going to thrill the you-know-what out of us by uncorking a fast lap, and perhaps making one of those textbook passes under the front brakes into Allen's corner. Good battle now starting to develop between Caleb Noyles on the 17 machine and Brent Strong on the number 8 bike. Those bikes are running in fighting for last place, but nonetheless a personal battle, and both riders running at their own considerable personal pace. In through Allen's corner comes your race leader, Kenny Reedman, on the 42 Triumph, the Castrol Triumph 675 Triple. Hornblower riding a very smart race indeed, holding on to 3rd spot. And a challenge from Newcastle's Eli DeCash is totally unexpected at this point in time. So Hornblower hopefully is getting the proper pit signals to let him know that he's running just the race he needs to ride, and he needs to maintain this pace right through to race finish. We look to the hairpin once more. Reedman comes out of it first. Reedman, let's give him 8, make it 10. Make it 12 bike lengths. Is it more? 15 perhaps? Reedman really getting some distance here, as we saw just a couple of laps ago. And then just as quickly, it seems, Jody Christie is able to close up that distance, both through 11, then down through the S's and down into Allen's. Let's see how close Christie can get this time around. Reedman just might have this thing in the bag. And Reedman under full power on that triple-cylinder British-made Triumph 675. And that motorcycle is starting to wander a bit under him as it wallowed coming out of turn 14. And the big distance that we noted on the back straightaway last time around between Kenny Reedman and Jody Christie seems to have evaporated pretty much at this point. Hornblower a distant but secure. Truly the race within the race is between Kenny Reedman and Jody Christie up front, and the battle between the East Coast Cartel member Caleb Noyles on the number 17 machine. Clapston Hollage sponsored Caleb Noyles leading Brent Strong right now out of the final corner onto the front straightaway. Reedman still has a very clear field of vision, and it looks like Jody's getting very aggressive on the brakes coming down into Allen's corner there as he gets the back end of that Honda wagging around like a dog offered a milk bone. Past the grandstands they go once more. I believe them to be on their penultimate lap right now. Oh, and a move by Brent Strong up at the hairpin there. Look at Brent Strong and Caleb Noyles now side by side on the back straightaway. Truly a race within a race. Brent Strong has caught up to and passed the East Coast Speedster and taken that position from him. Let's see whether number 17 Caleb Noyles can return the favor as they come back down towards Allen's corner. Meanwhile, we glance to the back straightaway and pick up our race leader, number 42 in the Castrol Triumph, Kenny Reedman. He brings it down past the Rider's Choice Control Tower and throws it into turn 11 at high speed. That's what I call big eye territory, when they get into the brakes real hard going into 11 and maintain that momentum that'll shoot them off towards the S's. Last lap flag is being readied. Kenny Reedman's race lead. You see it. It's less than a bike length right now. Past the start finish line they come. And the crowd is responding in turn. Jody Christie is getting some cheers from this crowd already, urging him on. Christie pulls up to the back wheel. He can't make it done yet. Oh, this is high drama now. Oh, man, I wish I could watch what was going down in turn 8. I can't wait to see the television footage from this one. We look expectantly towards the trees now and see with others side by side coming out of turn 9. Now up into the hairpin corner. Reedman, Christie. Reedman takes the inside line. He maintains the lead ever so slightly. Down the back straightaway they go. Reedman down below the plexiglass with the throttle wide open. Now down past the Rider's Choice Control Tower. Christie desperate now for a race win. Pulls up behind Reedman. Into the S's they go. Reedman leads. He blocks beautifully. He's got the curbs covered. Down into Allen's. He's going to take the inside line. Christie will sweep around the outside, try to get the job done. Christie move. Oh, beautiful move by Kenny Reedman. A beautiful blocking move by Kenny Reedman. Fabulous move by Kenny Reedman. He had the lead there. He covered the curbs all the way through the S's. And when it came down to the final corner, Hornblower takes third spot. Fourth place goes to Eli DeCash on the 53 bike. Here now, Darren James. But the story was Kenny Reedman. He covered the curbs all the way through the S's, and then coming down into Allen's, he simply left no room at all. Christie was forced to go around the outside, and then Reedman swung around and simply slammed the door on the champion. Christie had nowhere to go but on the brakes, and the championship win goes to Kenny Reedman. Let's talk first with Will Hornblower. First of all, Will, a very smart race. You maintained fast pace with the boys, but when they turned it up a tad, you maintained your own personal pace, and the result is third spot. Well done.
Oh, I'm so happy to get this third spot. It took everything I had. I'm so gassed right now. It was great. Yeah, I was surprised that I could stick with them for so long, and then they turned it up, and I tried to go with them, but I just thought it was better. I saw there was quite a big gap back to fourth place, so I just thought I'll just do a pace I'm comfortable with and just bring it home in third.
Let's talk now with our champion. Inside information tells me, Jody, that you and Kenny Reedman actually hugged one another before the start of this race, wishing each other good luck. Is that a true story?
Oh, absolutely. Kenny and I are best friends on and off the track. We actually were both hanging out underneath the tent just on either side of the table, and not a lot of people notice that, but yeah, we're best buddies, so it's huge congratulations to Kenny. I know this is his first pro national win, so it's a big deal, and his team's worked really hard for it and deserves it. So I couldn't be happier to lose to Kenny. It's it's a really big accomplishment for him, and I'm really happy to be up here on the second spot beside two good friends and safe and ready to go for Superbike.
So Kenny, you and Jody are good buddies, and yet in that last lap, that didn't seem to be a very friendly way to treat your friend.
Yeah, we are best friends, but we've talked about it before even coming here, and both just decided, hey, I'm gonna try as hard as I can to beat you, and he's gonna try as hard as he can to beat me, and it's racing. And I knew I had motor on him down the back straight, so I knew if I kept him behind me through the twisty stuff, so might have been a little aggressive on the blocking lines on the last lap, but I don't regret it.
You had some fun out there, huh?
Yeah, I had actually, the first beginning of the race, I was pretty nervous just because Jody and I were just playing with each other, and he was leading, and I could tell he didn't really want to leave, so I was like, okay, I guess I'll lead, and neither of us were really on pace until about halfway through the race, and then I looked back, and it was kind of like, okay, let's go. And yeah, I'm really happy to end up on top.
Ladies and gentlemen, your podium. Will Hornblower on the Yamaha in third, Jody Christie on the Honda in second, and a win for Triumph here in Canada as a Castrol Triumph rider. Kenny Reedman has taken his first national championship win, albeit in the Hindle Exhaust Pro Sport Bike Final.